For much of my life, I resisted the traditional emphasis on the death of Jesus as an atonement for our sin, believing instead that his core message was one of compassion. However, over time, I've come to see how Jesus intertwined both compassion and repentance in a profound and transformative way. Jesus embodied compassion as an unwavering, unconditional love extended to all, regardless of power, knowledge, wealth, or status. He disregarded societal hierarchies and lived in a way that prioritized love, care, and humility above all else. I didn't resonate with the traditional understanding of repentance as seeking forgiveness for major moral failings: lying, greed, sexual disloyalty, insensitivity to the poor. This view seemed too narrow. He wasn't merely addressing outward behavior. He was calling for something deeper and more universal that applies to all of us: the surrender of the ego, which clearly separates us from God. Through many decades of reflection, I've come to see more and more clearly Jesus as a revolutionary force speaking to everyone. He directly challenged religious and cultural authorities of all kinds. He opposed rigid hierarchy and social division, instead uplifting the meek, the poor, and those who long to serve. Again and again, Jesus emphasized that the highest commandment is to love God with all our heart, our soul, and strength, even above family, social ties, or personal ambition. This connects deeply to repentance because the greatest barrier to divine love is not a list of individual sins, but the universal human tendency to let ego overshadow humility and devotion to God, or whatever we conceive God to be. When we examine our own intentions, emotions, and reactions, we often find that they stem from ego, seeking validation, control, or superiority. But the message of Jesus is not about a simple dichotomy between self-centeredness and devotion to God. Rather, it's an ongoing journey of awareness, noticing when ego dominates our thoughts and our actions, and choosing instead to expand in love, wisdom, and inclusivity. This growth is nurtured by a simple question: how can I take care of myself and all others involved? In a way, this echoes the teaching of Jesus: ask and you shall receive. When we sincerely seek to align with love and compassion, we open ourselves to transformation. Our egos remain, but as our awareness deepens, they lose their power to harm, and instead we become a significant vessel for healing. A dear friend and Christian minister once told me that in Alcoholics Anonymous, EGO stands for an acronym for edging God out. This resonated really deeply. In psycho-spiritual terms, a strong ego is often seen as essential to well-being. Yet the message from Jesus calls us beyond self-importance and into full surrender to divine love. His message is for all of us, including those who believe they are closest to God. This perspective offers a powerful guide to daily life by observing when we act from purity, humility, and compassion versus when we fall into ego-driven patterns. We can more clearly see the path toward divine connection. Jesus did not teach a dogma. He taught a way of being, a way of universal love. His message is definitely not about exclusion, but about transformation, an invitation for every one of us to move more and more beyond ego and into divine love. While the teachings of Jesus have deeply shaped my journey, I also recognize the wisdom and beauty in many spiritual paths. I believe that love, humility, and the surrender of ego are universal truths that transcend religious boundaries. If you come from a different tradition or have insights from your own spiritual journey, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's explore together how these timeless truths can guide us toward greater compassion, understanding, and unity.